Hi, good evening, guys. It's Paul Cunningham. I've got a new channel called Clickcast, which will have various photographers talking to me online and just mainly just general chit chat about photography. This week it's going to be talking to another photographer, and it's the subject is street photography. The street photography is something I started a long time ago, and something I probably wouldn't go back to. Just too challenging. So the person I have on the cast today is called Gladys Yelland. Gladys has also won a few awards for some of her pictures she's had, and rightly so. And you'll see with the footage, which we put up later, with some of the pictures she has. They are the essence of street photography, what we want. We want to get the person looking at the lens. We want the person engaged in the camera. We want the person to reveal something about themselves in a story. And that's all the things that will be covered tonight on this cast, talking to Glads. You will love this chat as much as I loved it. I hope you do. And if you do like street photography, then I'm sure you'll enjoy this as well. It is a challenging photography genre. It's not something that you can just go out and just take a camera and point and shoot. You've got to have the confidence to approach people. There's certain thick skin, although saying that, confidence grows as you do it more and more. Glads will put us right with these questions, which I will be asking her throughout this interview. I recorded the interview on Zoom, so the recording looks a bit off a little bit, so just to give you that heads up, although the chat is quite intriguing. So anyway, let's go to Glads and talk to her about her street photography and what makes her tick as a good photographer. Hi, hello Glads, how are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
It is good to see you again. It's been a long, long time since I have seen you. And
Thank
Glads,
you,
just
and
can
you
you
too.
introduce yourself, if just to tell more people what you do as a photographer, and yeah, we'll take it from there.
Okay, my name's Gladys Yelland, and I do street photography, and I basically take pictures of Edinburgh, people, buildings, city life generally, just the way life is in Edinburgh. And so that's what I generally do, and I've been doing it for that a good 6 or 7 years, maybe longer. And it's something I'm very passionate about because I just love portraying what real life's about. I love portraying people's characters and just documenting things from what it is like now from, for quite a long time, really. So that's what I do.
Great, and yeah, it's been 6 or 7 years is relatively a short period of time of what you've achieved, I'd say, and we will get into that a little bit later. What I wanted to ask you, of course, is just getting back to the beginning of it, and how did this journey into the street photography start? Where did it start from?
Well, basically, I had a career break from a job that I used to be, well, I am now a software engineer, but then I was a software engineer. So I decided to have a career break to stay with my kids. And the day I left my job, I went and got myself a camera because I
Yeah,
just thought, I fancy learning photography. So that's how I started. So I started doing like rubbish photos, as I usually say, of just like self portraits, anything that showed interest. But I was so frustrated with my pictures. I sat there thinking, what do I do to improve? Because, I didn't have an idea. And then I also decided to get myself a proper manual camera because I had a shoot and go camera, as you do, because I didn't know that you needed a manual camera. So my first camera that I bought was a Canon, and I went out with a guy initially called Richard Dyson. Is it Dyson? Yeah, to learn to get off manual. Okay. So he taught me how to get off manual and take photos, including of the snow, in Edinburgh for a day. And then from then I thought, how can I take this further and find my niche? And I looked online and I
mm,
saw a collection, I was looking at photographies and I thought, that's interesting. I came across a lady called Amy Strachan and I thought, oh my God, I love her photos. They're
yeah,
fabulous. And I just thought I'd love to photo something like that.
yeah, yeah.
So I went on her first workshop with my old Canon, as you do, and basically went out on the first day with her shooting streets. I was really shy. I'm quite intimidated by people, and as you do, because it takes a lot of
Yeah.
guts to shoot street.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and she said to me, "You need to build confidence." So on Sunday, she said to me, "Why do you come out shooting on Sunday and we'll build your confidence a bit?" And she didn't even like offer for me to pay for the Sunday. So I went on Sunday with her just one to one, and she got me shooting people literally standing next to me. And I remember being absolutely mortified at the time, but at the same time thinking, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's how it started.
Oh, great. That's real interesting. I know Amy Strachan as well. I have been on one of her workshops before, recommended by yourself, of course.
Yeah.
And I was like you, I was trying to find my home in photography too. And, street photography I found very, very challenging. And one of the things I learned a lot from you too, because I loved your style, because you were right on top of photographing people. You got really close. And what I did notice about your style is you get out there and you photograph the situation. You get this kind of a theme occurring on that day, and it became through a glass window where there's condensation from the glass from the steam from the restaurant, and you've got someone's face vividly looking out the glass, making eye contact. That is absolutely amazing. So you've got that little artistic part of it as well, the art of it, as opposed to just taking photographs of people. So you do think a lot about your shots, I've noticed. And just one of the things is, where did your desire to photograph people come from? You think your desire?
Just the interest. I find
Yeah.
life interesting, and I just love the expression of people, the way they express themselves. Even when it's funny and outrageous, I love it because it shows people's soul and character.
Yes.
You know what I'm trying
Yes.
to say? And you don't get that when you ask people to pose for you. It's just not the same compared to seeing something a bit more natural. And sometimes, even though it's a bit outrageous, it shows their personality. It shows that they're
Hmm.
fun to be with, and they have something about them. You know what I'm trying to
Yeah, it's
say? It's just,
interesting. Yeah, because
you know,
I could put a parallel to that. Like if you look at David Bellamy and people like back from the '60s, famous photographers, and people like taking pictures of rock stars and celebrities back then. Everything was pretty much done very good in monochrome. And one of the things that struck me these images of these people is the personality they got out of them.
yes,
Um, and it's like you said, there's that point where we can all point and shoot a camera at a situation. For example, there's something going on in the street, so first thing we do, we take a picture because it's something out of the ordinary. But what Agala, what you're saying is you'll study the actual the scene itself. Either you get a
yes,
person to walk through your scene, Agala, or you
yes.
actually just try
Shape
to
it.
catch them unawares, but in a way that you want eye
Yeah.
contact. Because I've noticed you're talking about being brave, etc., and being have the courage to do that. And I couldn't do that. My style was a little bit different back then when I done street photography. It was kind of like run, gun and hoe, shooting, run, and with yourself and Amy, both of you guys are absolutely amazing what you do, and that's how you have won a lot of plaudits and awards and for your time. So yeah, I mean that's real interesting. And what are
You
you
have to
trying
put
to
yourself
reveal
out there.
about the people in general? What are you trying to reveal about them? You think you did touch on that a little bit, but what are you
I
trying to
just think
reveal about it?
it's just their personalities. Like, you can get shots where it's the beautiful shots, the way
Mm,
they dress, the clothes, even doing silly things with stag parties,
yeah,
things that
yeah,
people get up to.
yeah,
It just shows life. It shows soul. Because we live in a world like Instagram and TikTok where everything is planned.
yes,
And in some ways, it doesn't always feel real. And
yeah. Is that
I and I like
yeah?
to show something real. And by
Good.
shooting natural, you see people what they're really like. You don't just see an image that's perfect, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, we are sort of like I mean, we're all looking for to get the numbers in social media as photographers, and that's goes with it in the 21st century of photography. before that we never had anything like that. But to have the following is a huge thing. And what you mentioned there, you touched on Instagram about people, almost like the stage things, don't they? And there's
Yeah,
that realism that's missing, you know.
it is
Um,
missing. And I think it's sad because people miss out
yeah,
of what's real life. They don't, especially youngsters. And it's nice for people to actually see what life is really about.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
very easy to forget that when you look through a screen and you think that person's life is perfect. You
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. The thing of what I like about street photography from afar, because I love looking at photographs that people take of people. I can't do it myself. I've tried it. A gallery, you in a way that with you and Amy and other street photographers handle yourself is you're quite candid, and there's a story in every photograph of just looking at that person, as you said, and it's really interesting, street photography.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
do you feel there's a lot more people in Edinburgh just now taking pictures, as in street photographers?
I think there is now. I'm quite surprised how many street photographers there are in Edinburgh. Um, when I first started, I think there was quite a lot, but I didn't really bump into them. But now I'm
Mm.
coming across more and more, and I think it's because people are fascinated by life, and
Yeah,
it's one of those genre where you feel more grounded as a person because you're observing life instead
yeah,
of looking it through a computer or a phone.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, and I think that when I was doing it, I felt the freedom. I liked it because you're just walking about the streets, and a gallery with you when you do it, you meet up with your friends and things, have a coffee, and it's not just about taking pictures; it's the social aspect as well, isn't it?
It
In a way.
depends on the mood, really. Sometimes I'll go out with another person and I'll take photos and then we'll have a coffee out afterwards. And other
Yeah,
times I do it on my own. It really
interesting.
all
Yeah,
depends on my mood. I do like going out shooting myself because I
yeah,
can then focus more. But the nice thing about shooting with other people is your styles kind of mix. You
yeah,
influence each other and you sort of see things that you may not always see, you
yeah.
know?
But there is that thing, as you mentioned there, Glads, that when you're by yourself, is would you say your work is more creative when you're taking pictures by yourself?
When I'm by myself, I don't really go, I'm a bit more wary how I approach people because I'm on my own.
Yeah, of course
And
there
on
is
top of
that.
it, I try to be a little bit more abstract.
Oh yeah,
I try to see pictures that are got a bit more of an illusion to them because,
okay,
and they're
yeah,
the hardest pictures to take because I find myself I miss so many shots because I'm not quick enough in catching the shots. That's the problem I have now. I see so many shots afar and I'm like, too late, not quick enough, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I really love your monochrome shots. And you do a lot of different types of aspects of street photography as well. I've noticed lights and shadow, people, and it's candid photography you do. You don't just you're not just doing it more for the art point, trying to show this person's story, revealing
Yeah.
how it reveal themselves in that kind of
I,
aspect.
I
Yeah,
do. In some aspects, it can be arty because there are days where I think I just want to do something very arty. So try and
yeah,
do something a bit different. And there's other days where I just want to get the person's character, you know.
yeah,
Like for
yeah,
example, my line shot, that was more arty
yeah,
because I just love the fact it didn't look real
yeah, yeah.
and
And I
it
love
was
the picture.
invariant.
Yeah, and I love the picture of the famous mirror and the double yellow lines picture. Pretty much a lot of people have seen, and I will put an image of that up here. The
It's a
image has won quite a few awards in it. You've done quite well with that.
Yes, it has. It's now in Italy actually. It's been shown in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Traverse Photography Gallery. But when I took that image, I just loved the lines and it just gives a bit of imagination.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and it's not about the person, it's about creating something out of nothing.
yeah, yeah. Because it's a bend of the road. It's everything in that photograph. I mean, it's easy just to take pictures of people, but it's sometimes hard to take pictures of people. But this is a bit of both. You got
Yeah,
people in there, but you also got the art aspect, which works very
yeah.
well. And
There's a gentleman that I follow who's from
yeah,
Turkey, the Gunka
uh-huh.
or something his name is. But his photography is all about art, and he uses illusions very similar to the mirror one, I suppose. Not the same, but he uses his objects. Like
Oh yeah,
you've got a cup and it looks like the person's jumping in it, and they're not jumping in it. But it's just the fact he uses his imagination,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's hard. That is a hard thing to
yeah,
accomplish.
yeah. And yeah, of course, and it's like in your mind, you've got in your mind's eye what you're looking to get that day, Gala. When you go out, do you have like sort of preconceptions what you're looking for?
I try not to, you know, I try not to have preconceptions. Because the problem with having that is you
Yeah,
could come home with no photo.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah,
So
but
I
yeah,
try to go with the flow.
yeah, yeah. With the Edinburgh Festival, and you know, every second, well, every about 5 people that's up there are street photographers around the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. And just to explain what we mean by that is Edinburgh itself is a very small town. The old town is the original part of Edinburgh, which used to be like one street back in the medieval times. But in the Edinburgh Festival times, it's all crowded, and it's very difficult to get. Well, probably easy to get close to people, but it's very difficult to get a composition of the person you're trying to photograph, I presume.
Yes, it is because sometimes you get people that come right in front of your camera and you've got the
Yeah,
perfect composition and too many people walking past you. And you're like, damn it, I haven't got it. I've just missed that shot. And
yeah,
sometimes, because Edinburgh, the way it's structured, to get something minimalistic is very difficult because Edinburgh is
yeah,
so old worldy town. It's got so much detail. To do that is very difficult. Where like Glasgow is easy for that,
yeah,
with their
yeah.
street art and everything.
And yeah, of course, in Glasgow, there's these big, bigger streets in Glasgow, central Glasgow, etc., as opposed to Edinburgh's little cobbled lanes, etc., and things
Yeah.
like that. So equally so, both cities do give that kind of different choice, and it's for you. You're pretty much local to these areas.
Yeah, I think with Edinburgh, it's very tempted to go quite traditional and have the Scottish traditional feel.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and you try not to do that sometimes because you're like, I want to show Edinburgh for what it is, not just what people presume it is.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I mean, do you tend to get the more of the political side as well, trying to get people to just capture what the moods of society is, current affairs,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, when I
yeah,
went and shot around the COVID time, I had some pictures I did from COVID.
yeah,
It was quite shocking to see how empty everything was and people just sitting not next to each other but separate in chairs, wearing masks.
yeah,
Just you could feel it was such a different feel compared to what it's like now where it's so busy and it's still
yeah.
not as busy,
Yeah,
but it's still a lot better, you know,
yeah, and,
and
and the thing is, yeah, that was really good what you done there because I did see the images from that, and it's a part of history, and journalistic photography or street photography capture that, capture the times of then, the atmosphere, what it was like, what people were like. There was a lot of people with mental health issues back then, and looking back
exactly.
to that, some people could say it's a bit upsetting, but to me, it's interesting. I'm sure, have you got anything you can actually point them to look at these images of the COVID period?
It's on my Instagram, some of them on my Instagram, not all of them. It's under
Yeah,
GE
yeah.
Yelland. If you look at
Okay,
GE
yeah.
Yelland,
Well,
you'll
I'll
see
put
it
that
further
link. I'll
down.
stick that link as well in there. What I liked about you when you done that there was you got the you actually touched on the mood of Edinburgh, or it could be any city in the UK, but you certainly got the mood of Edinburgh because it was so hollow looking
It
back then.
was. It was. It was
Yeah,
total hollow. I remember I even took a picture of that. There was a yellow letter put on the Royal Mile
yeah,
asking Nicola to help out with small businesses going bust. And I took a
yeah,
photo of that because I remember thinking, it's so sad to see how many businesses are closing down because with what's going on. And even now, there's some areas of Edinburgh you walk through and, shops are empty in some of
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. And
Mm,
I think we all got to appreciate, now what we're going through now, where things are slowly getting back to normal, but there is that risk it can come back. I know we kind of touched on that quite a lot, but that was a huge part of street photography. I think for photographers,
It was, and
because
I
we
know a
never
lot of
had
people
anything
said,
like that.
"Oh, it's boring taking photos of people with masks," but
Yeah,
it's part of
not
history. It's
really.
what we all went through,
Yeah,
and it's not just that. Also, you know, it's what life is.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I mean, one of the things I've always asked you, of course, is want to ask you rather, is how does a when you actually go out on the field and you get your camera ready, your equipment's ready, you're ready to shoot, etc., and you walk around the streets of Edinburgh. How does a shot reveal itself? How do you actually go up to that person and I know you take the picture of the person, you don't actually ask them, as most street photographers do, the brave ones, unlike me. But how does a shot reveal itself? What do you look for?
I just walk through the streets. The first thing I do is I observe what's around me. I used to, when I first started, I used to shoot anything.
Yeah,
Now I'm very picky, so I don't shoot anything now. I just
but yeah,
basically
that's,
just
that's interesting. Yeah,
watch and watch and watch what's going on. And if
yeah.
anything interests me, then I'll take the shot. But if it doesn't, then I won't do it.
So do you
So
feel
for
there's a
me,
lot of waiting and just taking your
yeah,
time? Yeah.
yeah, yes.
And do you think that if someone's starting out in street photography, what would you recommend? Doesn't matter what city or where they are in the country or in the world, of course. What do you
I would just
recommend them to do to start off doing street photography? Just to maybe just to get
personally,
the
I think it's good to start on a workshop because it takes guts
yeah.
to put yourself out there. So for building confidence,
Hmm.
I think it's important to go out and shoot with someone else who's got experience in it.
Yeah.
Because you put yourself out there really when you're shooting. It's not um, something that's very easy to do. And
Yeah.
then after that, once you feel you're a bit more confident, you just take your time and shoot what interests you. It doesn't have to be about people, it can be about buildings, it could be about dogs, shoes,
Yeah. It's
anything.
art.
And you
It's
don't
art,
even
yeah.
have to show people's faces. You can just shoot with their faces hidden and in the clothes and and the hats on. I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at some of the famous street photographers, some of them didn't show the images of an entire person. They show parts of the person.
Yeah.
So it's down to you what style you like in street. You don't have to be out there all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And if you want something more abstract and arty, then go for it. That's why I say you just got to follow what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's what you're saying. I mean, going back to that point, obviously, you always find your home in photography. There's a point you work hard and you take pictures and you feel it's not working, and it is working, and then there's that point, there's a sweet spot where you feel you're slowing down, and like you said,
Yeah.
you go out, you take your time and you think more, and you're patient, I
And you
presume.
just find your style. That
Yeah,
your style will reveal itself over time
yeah,
as you shoot
yeah.
more and you go out shooting more. Suddenly your style comes out.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that with yours. You've certainly got a style,
I have
and
now. Yeah.
I'm a keen follower of your work as well. So, what do you look for? What do you look for in a shot?
Sometimes it could be something arty. It could be the colors or color matching of clothes. Sounds really bizarre, but I love it when you've got a background and it matches with the person's clothes. That
Yeah,
makes it interesting. Sometimes it could be the person's facial expression because they've got an interesting face. And and what I love about it is sometimes I love shooting old people because people forget how beautiful old people are and how expressive they are.
yeah. They're our granddads, they're our fathers. There's
Yeah,
that thing where
exactly.
we should be more appreciative
It
and
doesn't have to always be young people.
yeah,
And I also love shooting when people are up to doing silly things like running around with a balloon or,
yeah, yeah,
enjoying stag parties, um, doing the dance, the dance silent disco.
yeah.
All of that is it's lovely because, during COVID time it was so quiet and then suddenly seeing people more active and just enjoying themselves is such a great thing to see, you
Absolutely.
know?
And I think one of the things that street photographers do for the society is people learn more about their city or learn more about us as human beings. So it's
Yes.
just it's an important part of art, and it's integral to the person who takes a picture as well, because they're so proud of the work they create. Um,
And the
yeah, I
busy of the
mean,
buses and
sorry,
cafes, the busyness of the buses
yeah,
in rush hour and the cafes and people just socializing. And and even the pets, when you look at the pets that they
yeah,
have, dogs, it's just
yeah,
fascinating in some ways,
yeah, yeah. I can think back a few pictures you've taken, and one of the things I did notice through, I can't remember what site it was on. I was kind of a bit of research on you, um, and I mean, I like to think I've seen most of your images, but there's one I've never seen before, and it was two guys on the street playing chess or drafts.
Yes, that was a
I
lovely
absolutely love
street,
that.
actually. That was interesting. I was with my friend Jan, and it was
Oh
getting
yeah,
quite dark. And the guy who was playing chess, one of them, he's homeless. And
yeah.
I was getting fed up with people showing homeless people in despair. Yes, there is despair, but there's also
I always do that.
humanity. There's humanity and personality. And I
Absolutely.
saw this guy playing chess, and he had a sign saying, "I do not bite." And I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
thinking, that's
That's what
amazing.
it's
I
like.
love it. So,
Yeah.
and because he was homeless, I asked because he's homeless,
Yeah.
and I said to him, "Do you mind if I take your
Well
photo?"
done. Well done,
Because
you.
because of
Respect.
because of his circumstances, his situation. And he said, "No, please do." So he carried on playing chess with his friend, and I just took some pictures. And I just loved it because it showed his personality of who he
Yeah.
is. He's not just this homeless man. He's this intelligent man playing chess. And he made the pieces himself. He portrayed himself as a human being, not
Absolutely.
someone that just
Absolutely.
begs on the streets. Do you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, you're right. You're breaking down the barriers of these cliches about homeless people that people think they are uneducated and things. They're not. They're people like us who've had hard times in life and have had to go a different way in life.
Yeah.
So we're all it doesn't matter if you're homeless or if you're actually living in a palace. The point you got across there was good, and you were you asking permission from this gentleman was really quite touching as well.
Well, I
Um,
did that because of his
yeah,
situation. He's homeless. And for me, to take a photo just like that,
yeah,
it's not fair. So
no,
that's why
no,
I
no.
asked him. I asked him because I just thought the power structure's different. And I want to be in his equal. I don't want to be seen as I'm not his equal, which is
Yeah,
why I took
yeah.
the picture, you
And
know.
there is a flip
Yeah.
side to that, Glads, as well. You can look at if you're being brave to approach, but obviously you're assessing the situation, making sure it's safe and
I
things.
always
I presume
do,
that
yeah.
there is
There's
a
a lot
flip
of
side.
pictures I don't take because I don't feel safe, so I won't do it.
Yeah, well done.
But there are times I will do it because I just think, oh my gosh. And even if it's risky, and I think, oh my gosh, I love that person's face, or I really love what they're wearing, or I love the
Yeah,
whole setup, and I'll take it. But sometimes
yeah,
I don't because I'm just not in the mood, and I think, this is not very safe at the
yeah.
moment.
Yeah, and there is that thing as well. When I started doing street photography, there were some days I felt confident, and some days I wasn't feeling confident, and that was just a process of for beginners.
I think
And
that's always, doesn't matter how long you do it,
yeah,
you
okay,
always feel like
that's
that.
interesting.
I still feel like that now. I don't think I feel any different, but I think the difference now is the more you progress in it, the more self-aware you become. So it becomes harder.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's just being human, isn't it? I mean, it's just really
It
being
is
human
being
that we.
human, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a
It is.
different mindset from one day to another. Um, yeah, I mean, hence me looking down to this bit of paper as I read out the questions to you. I just have to try and make it look quite so professional here. But how did you go about developing your style? And we kind of you did touch on your style, of course. What I'm looking to get to is because you've progressed so far, you've come a long way in
I
six or
just
seven
tried
years.
I just
How do you
tried
go
different
about it?
things. I just experimented. That's what I did. I looked at a lot of images. That's one thing that really helps with your eyes, training your eye.
Yeah,
So I'd go through Instagram and look at a lot of other street photographers'
I like that
photos.
saying actually. I also want to touch what you said. Clean your eye. I really like that.
Training your eye.
Or train your eye,
Yeah, it
sorry.
is.
Or clean your eye, or
Training
train your
your
eye. So training your eye, of
training your
course, what you're doing
eye.
is
Yeah.
you're taking away any preconceptions of yourself, taking pictures, and you're looking at other people's work for
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yes, I do, because I think it's important to get a
Yeah,
different perception than just your own. And so the beauty about looking at other photos, you are literally training your eye to observe things in a different way than just the way you observe things.
yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes you see things that you think, oh, that's quite cool. I quite like the way they've done that.
yeah,
And so you try to, you challenge yourself a little bit more by trying to do something a bit more different.
yeah, yeah. And that's yeah,
You
that's
know?
I mean that's one of the things that comes with confidence, isn't it? Through learning
Yes.
sort of repetition of doing it every time. And well, I just want to touch on about cleaning eyes, guys. We're not cleaning eyes here. We're talking about training the eye.
Training, yeah.
Um, just want to make that point clear. Yeah,
You
I
could
mean,
say it's clearing your eye because it's clearing your perception.
yeah, I suppose you can see it that way. When I heard you say it, I thought that was a really interesting way to put it. Because when
Because it is.
I'm a different photographer as you, as you know, and I do woodland photography. I love nature, and there's times if I ever hit a brick wall of inspiration, like you, I'll turn myself to Instagram or YouTube or any platform that's kind of commercially photographic, and I'll see these. I'll take little snippets from other things, and I try not to be too heavily influenced in the way that I'm copying a style. Going back to
Exactly.
street
Yeah.
photography, when I first started doing it, I used to look at, as you know yourself, but the names just dropped there. I can't remember his name again.
Sean
Um,
Tucker.
yeah, that's him. Yeah, because we went to one of his workshops or meetings in Edinburgh, as it were, and I loved how he used the play of light and shadows, and
His
people get
light
really
formation
good.
is amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing the way he uses light.
and also, of course, with your work and the Amy Strachan's work, really got me going in street photography also. And I didn't want to pursue street photography because I found my home in more doing woodland photography. You're telling a story about people's lives.
Hmm.
I'm telling a story about the woodlands and how it's important to people to look after trees and how they produce oxygen and repair themselves and repair nature. And in many ways, and there's more important now in this day and age to look after our local woodlands.
Yes, yes, I
I
totally
think
agree.
what both of us have got in common is you're really interested to show to show the viewer that we all have the same feelings. We don't have labels. You mentioned that through photographing homeless people, and that's it takes a lot, because some people just kind of stereotype things too much. The circumstances involved these people's lives, and you're not even just homeless. It's anything you do street photography. I presume all you do is you take pictures of people that you find interesting, and there's a reason why you find interesting. I gather when you do it, you've drawn to that, and
Yes.
obviously, how does it present yourself? So you just say, for example, you're taking a picture, and then one of the things I noticed with you is you get a lot of eye contact in your picture. You do engage very well with the participant. Well, I say participant; they're not participating, but you're taking a picture of the person who's actually unawares of it, but they're making eye contact. And after I look at that image, I think, have they said anything to you, or have they? What actually happens after that when you actually get
It
them?
depends, it depends on the person. Some people don't even know I've taken the picture. Some people smile and they recognize that I've taken the picture and they're fine about it. And they smile and they giggle, whatever. Some people say, oh, why are you taking my picture? And I say, well, you look amazing. That's why. And then they smile because I've been honest enough to say that I actually like the way they've dressed or styled themselves. And,
Yeah,
you know, some people get offended and say, no, please don't take my picture, and I delete it. If I take a picture and someone says to me, delete, I don't want it, I delete it straight away. I
yeah,
don't think
yeah,
there's any point keeping a picture if someone says they don't want it.
yeah, yeah. At
There's
least,
plenty of other pictures to take, you
absolutely,
know.
absolutely.
the other day, it was really, I think I put a post on Facebook about it. There was
Yeah,
this old couple and they gave each other a kiss and it was beautiful. And I didn't have I had my camera with me, but I wasn't quick enough to take it.
yeah.
And the lady turned around and said to me, and I don't know if she recognized, you don't know people recognize you when you do street photography because they've seen you around. And she turned around and said, "Oh, did you take my picture of me kissing my husband?" And I went, "Oh no, no, I wasn't quick enough." She said, "Oh, that's a shame." And then she started talking
Oh,
to me saying, "Oh, he's 80, I'm 82 and he's 88, and we've been
oh,
married for so many years." And and he turned around and said to me, "Oh, she always kisses me."
oh,
I
well,
couldn't
yeah.
help laughing, but it was just so cute. And she turned around and said to me,
Story.
"So, what are you planning to do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just going home and I'm taking some shots on the way home." And she said, "Oh, I hope you have a great time and enjoy." She said, "Do you want me to pose for you?" And I'm like, "No, it's okay. I prefer it natural because it looks more beautiful when it's
Yeah,
natural than
absolutely,
when it's
absolutely. Yeah,
posed." And she was lovely about it. But I just thought it was hilarious that the fact that she said to me, "Have you taken the picture?" Which is not what I was expecting as a street photographer. So I sat there thinking, has she recognized me walking around with my camera taking pictures or something? Because the fact that,
yeah,
she asked me about it, it kind of humored me. And she wasn't offended in any way. I think she was quite glad.
yeah, yeah. That's really good because yeah, that's quite interesting. You mentioned as well when you're doing street photography. Do you notice people, local people who are in the area, regards to, for example, street entertainers, especially in Royal Mails?
Yes, I recognize all the main people that hang around. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah,
So you get to know who are the main people that are always around the streets. Yeah, you do
yeah.
reckon.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's one guy I've seen you taking a picture a couple of times, and I know you get him unawares in a candid shot, even though you know him. I think I've spoken about him, and I think he's called Jimmy, and he's got a long beard.
Yeah, I love his look. He's got
Uh,
such an amazing look.
Very
He
trendy
models
man.
actually. He does modeling as well. He's an engineer and he does
Wow.
modeling as
Yeah.
well. But I'm not surprised he does modeling because he's got such an amazing look about him.
Yeah,
He's a
it's
very
massive
stylish
beard.
man.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, I can really identify with going up doing street photography back when I started doing it, or the couple of years done it, and I did notice a lot of people. For example, there's a guy called Todd Various. I don't know if you know him.
No,
Uh,
I don't know him. No.
he's a street entertainer, and he always posed for everyone. What's past. Mainly tourists, of course, not locals. And he was like
What's this guy that's
red hair.
Texan?
He's got
Is he
red hair.
Texan? Yes, I know who he is.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's lovely.
yeah, and
I
if
spoke
he's
to him
from
once.
Massachusetts, I think. Oh no,
Yeah,
sorry,
he is.
Michigan. He's
Yes,
from
he
Michigan.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember
and
him
I
saying
used
to
to.
me,
Yeah, and have you
yeah,
actually taken any images of him because he seems to be quite a colourful character, and in the
yeah, I asked him to
photo.
pose for me once, and he did it. He posed for me, and he was so lovely. And he said to me that you just got to be yourself, because he said one of the things about being an entertainer, you just got to be who you are and not worry about it.
Yeah, it's quite a cool guy.
And he's got like a poem written, I think, in one of his arms or something.
So he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to I was a tour guide up in Edinburgh, and we used to walk to tours going past them, and we used to stand and watch him for a little bit, and
Mm.
people used to love looking at his shows. But these things are important to street photographers. We're talking about people we see every day in Edinburgh,
Yeah.
especially yourself, and you get that you build a rapport, and
Yeah, you do with some people.
that's quite. It's like your home. It's like your your turf. This is your place when you do your art, where you apply your art of photography. And yeah, I mean, I just one of the things I was wanting to say, is, of course, is that what's your influences, and okay, I know we all have various influences. We can't say one person, but what's
I
your
love, I love, I don't know if she's an influence, but I love her work. It's Vivian May.
sorry?
I love Vivian May.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love how eccentric she
Seen her,
is
yeah,
and
yeah,
how she takes pictures. And I love her self-portraits. I wish I could do self-portraits like that.
yeah,
Her
yeah.
self-portraits, how she puts herself within mirrors and everything are just
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, I've seen some of that. Yeah, that
Uh,
is really nice work. And
I wouldn't say her work influences me, but I would say I really admire it. She's
yeah,
probably maybe up
And do you,
there.
I mean, have you ever thought about doing workshops yourself or anything?
Um, I did get offered an opportunity to actually do workshops with a major firm, but then because COVID happened, it collapsed, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
I never approached it afterwards, but now because I'm working um as an engineer again, I
yeah. Well
just
done.
don't have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time. I don't
That's
have
really
the
good.
time to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And I
you
think,
know, but I would love to teach people probably,
yeah,
but
I think you'd be really good at doing workshops. And I think I, for one, if I was going back to street photography, even just come along, regardless. I would love to come along to one of them. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think one of the things as well you've touched on there, when you talk about your working and you've got a really good job as an engineer. Uh, being a hobbyist or being a pro, when you go pro, it can kind of kill the art aspect. And
that was the reason why I didn't go pro, was
yeah,
exactly
I
for that
mean, yeah, I
purpose.
mean, to me, you're a pro in your own way anyway, because people know your stuff and people know your work. And
Mm.
to me, in
I think
that kind of
that's
aspect,
the yeah.
you're known in Edinburgh as a street photographer. Um,
Yeah. I
so
think
yeah,
that's
I
the
mean,
reason why I
getting
didn't
back to,
go pro.
yeah,
That was the reason why I didn't go pro because um I don't want it to be ruined. You know, I don't want to
yeah,
be treated like I'm a factory. I'm not a factory. I
yeah.
express myself as an artist in some
That's
way.
that's great, lads, and that's it because when you start to do it as full time, it can it can sort of smother your creativity in a little bit. I mean, I've started doing workshops for doing woodland photography, and I try to do it through my YouTube channel, and I like it, but I find it so much hard work trying to juggle everything together. And I know there's sometimes I walk up the town and kind of reminisce about taking pictures right the old town, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video is just try to recapture that, and it certainly has. It's I've got food for appetite again. Maybe just get a couple of goals again and maybe take some pictures, go uptown and do it. I miss that kind of freedom and just walking around with a camera.
I think
Yeah.
that's what's great about the street is that idea of freedom and just
Sorry.
being curious and
Yeah.
nosy. Partly being nosy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think
Oh,
I mean we're watching this, people watching this video, and I'm sure that they'll be interested to follow your work, etc. The one of the things I would probably say is if you're ever going into Edinburgh, talk to the viewers here, try to get up to the old town, and you may see Gladys on the street taking pictures. You may get a chance to meet her. She's always around Edinburgh and other places, of course, as well, not just Edinburgh. But she is very famous for taking pictures around the old town. And if you look at her back catalogue with regards to Instagram, she's on Flickr as well, Facebook, etc. And I
yeah.
believe there's a few other sites which you probably correct me, Glads, when you after I've come off this video, which I'll put up as a link, and also below the video I'll put a link on them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see all these images from the years 6 or 7 years she started, and there's a lot of images, from different levels of street photography, and they get better and better and better. So if you're actually looking to learn street photography, use that and use, just look at books and things. And one of the things I was going to say as well, Glad, since you're here, is I bought this book way back, and it's called the New Street Photography Manifest. And I was thinking, what I like about these images are kind of similar to yours. There is one there, it's absolutely priceless, and it's a political kind of statement. Oh, there we go, got it.
I'll
So,
be like,
I don't know if you can see that there just now. Can you see that there?
I can see it. It's very cool. I can see
So,
it.
I like that. That kind of sums up politics today, or whatever your
Yeah.
politics are. I'm not pushing anything like that. But this is a good book, and it's all about politics, not just politics, but just catching people unawares, candid photography, what you do.
Yeah. If I didn't love street photography, I wouldn't be doing it.
Oh yeah, you love it. You can
You
tell you
know,
love it, and it
that's
shows in your images
that's
as
the
well.
only reason why I do it, because I enjoy what like
Yeah,
to do street photography. I don't do it for the likes. I don't do it for the followers. I don't do it to be famous or anything like that. I do it
yeah,
because I love it. I think the
yeah.
day I stop loving it, I probably will stop, you know?
Okay. Well, I've got a couple of questions to ask before you go, and one of the question which I've kind of try to be brave enough to say it, but have you ever thought about creating a little book and putting some street photography images in it, or even doing a project of street? So, for example, COVID was one of the ones that people have pretty much done
I
a
don't
lot.
know. I always wonder, will people buy it? That's the question I ask.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just one
I
of
have
those
seen
things.
photographers. There's a lot of photographers in this day and age now because the power of social media. People
Mm.
see things, and I can only say that they will like your stuff. And this book here, this person, they've been doing street photography for 10 years. That's
Wow.
not as much. That's pretty much the same as you almost. So yeah, I mean, it's a project, and they've done a project on street photography manifesto, and I mean, I'm going to try to do one in books on regards to trees. Sorry, and I'm just trying to maybe just do something that means in two ways: the photographs, and also regards to the planet and how important trees are for our everyday lives. And with your work as well, I think people will really appreciate your work in the case that you're telling a story. And if you've got a story to tell, stick it in a book. Why not? I think you've got
I'd
that
love,
experience.
I, I'd love to do, I suppose, I'm just, for me, I suppose, I'd love to do is basically with what the changes are going on in Edinburgh, like, because there's so much, we've been through a lot with COVID, uh, Brexit, um, you know, cost of living and everything. And
Yeah,
so many changes have gone on, really, that um, I suppose I'd love to do more of that area than just people. If I think I was going to do a project, I'd probably try and think carefully what kind of project I want to do.
I'll be interested to see if you bring something out in the future, because I do like your work, and I like to collect books and things on photographers as well. I've got like various books, etc.
It sounds really strange, but I love the fact that, with the Banksy situation, with him putting cones on statues, I'd love to follow him and find out where he goes and take
Yeah,
pictures if it's all suited with a certain aspects. Something a
yeah,
bit different, I suppose.
yeah, exactly. Now, I think it's one of the things as photographers in this day and age we struggle to get outside the box because everything through social media has been done before. Or people, photography is saturated just now with different images coming up on TikTok and Instagram, etc. That we're needing a story to images. We need something real. That we're in an age of you know basically artificial intelligence, etc. And people will be making their own images, and that's just hurt photography too.
Mm.
And I
Mhm.
feel that, especially yourself, not so much as landscape, because that's a photography genre that could die because of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, as you know, is mainly a collection of people's images for the years it's built up through a social media engine. And if you type in a forest, it will come up as a screen as a picture. But with street photography or wedding photography or people in general, you can't replicate that. So
No, you can't because it's real. It's
it's a
not
genre that won't
fake.
die. It's a genre that won't die. And I think
Mm.
with your work and guys and people like Amy Strachan, you have got a lot to offer viewers, and not just look at your images, but having something tangible in their hands they can look at and say, look for the book, and look at these images through a part of history through time. You know, I certainly love to see things like that.
It's even like you could do projects of how much the streets changed over the decades because, we've had a lot of shops shut down because of
Yeah,
COVID and different shops opening up. And the street has changed over the years. I mean, even my hometown, when I go to my hometown, which I won't mention the name of it,
of course.
half the, it used to be a quaint little town, very English, Tudor. Half
Yeah,
of it now looks like a ghost town. You would not
yeah,
recognize it to what it was when I was a youngster growing up.
yeah,
It's
yeah. That's
converted into
interesting.
commuter town. Now, if someone had gone out and taken photos and shown the impact of how much the street has changed, people would be surprised.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing just looking at Princess Street. You can see the shops and the buildings are changing, because of the impact that we've had with COVID and everything else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the things that you mentioned, of course, throughout this video, and is just mainly enjoyment of photography, and you enjoy what you're doing. Of course, if you weren't, you want to be a street photographer, as you said. But
Wouldn't.
what next for you? What is it you're looking to do in your photography? And I know it's still a career, even you're not wanting to go full time pro, but it's still a career thing you're doing because you're leaving behind images that people are going to see for possibly
I think
generations.
I'd like to do more documentary work, more photojournalism,
Photojournalism.
um, maybe something a bit more. Sorry about this, Paul.
That's okay.
Okay, something a bit more makes people really think.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'd like to do. If I'm going to do something in the future, because I haven't really thought about my future, because at the moment I'm just enjoying it. But if I want to do something that really strikes people,
of
that
course.
make people really think, because that's why I love people like Banksy, and they're different.
Mm,
They
yeah,
stand outside. They're loners. They're on their own, but at the same time, they make people question things. It's
yeah,
not just a
yeah.
picture. And I think if I want to do something, want to go to the next level, I suppose what I'm saying, the next level. I'm talking about in the future. I'd hope to God that and if I carry on the way I'm going, it'll be something that will actually make people think,
Yeah,
than just taking pictures of Edinburgh as well. I mean, like one of the pictures I saw recently from the press, that won the press picture was Ukraine of a lady on a stretcher, pregnant, and everything was in ruins. And I remember thinking to
yeah,
myself, I mean, I literally cried when I saw that picture. It
yeah, yeah,
shocked me, but the fact was, it really showed what's going on in this world. How things are changing so much so quickly, and it's sad to see
yeah,
so much conflict and so much, and everyone's affected in every angle. So
yeah.
I suppose
That's
what I'm saying is it's just getting people to think.
yeah, yeah, and that's what I kind of imagine that with your work and your talents, doing a book or something like that kind of structure, and
I
you know,
wouldn't say that I'm of that level at the moment, but I think
yeah,
you know, if I still carry on, I'm hoping to God I do get to that level. If I was going to take that jump of that courageous jump of actually really putting myself out there,
yeah,
and completely like, you know, then I would like to actually have a really hard kicking story that people look at and think, God,
mm, yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah. Of course, and it's something that it's that if I'm going to pick up a book and or even look at a photograph, I'm looking for these elements of what am I getting, what's the story I'm getting here, and I certainly find that in your images, Glads, and that's why today's this Zoom meeting we've done today, I've really enjoyed it, and I'm sure the viewers have enjoyed some of your images I'm putting on now and again as we're talking through the video. They will
Mm.
see them. And we'll be leaving links, guys, down below the video to look at more of Glad's work. Please visit and give her a bit of love, give it a like, and
That'd
also,
be lovely.
yeah, no worries. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Paul.
Take care of yourself.
Take
All
care.
the best.
Bye.
Night night.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.